Welcome back. So we were discussing the various parts of the structure of research paper, how to structure a research paper, and we have said that there are several parts starting with abstract to appendices. Now in abstract part, as we have said, in the abstract part we need to briefly introduce the reader to the aims, to the outline of your research paper and the aims of the study. So in abstract part, what we are going to do, we need to introduce the reader to the outline of your research paper. That means to the aims of the study. Second, the methodology, the results and the findings. So everything in will be included in the abstract. The abstract is what? It is the whole research paper in a nutshell. The aims of the study, the methodology, results and findings, all these things will be there in the abstract. Now in the introduction or the thesis of the statement, there what we need to do, please note it down. In the thesis or in the introduction part, we need to state a clear overall purpose of the study. In the introduction part, we need to do what? We need to state a clear overall purpose of the study, often framed in a discussion of the need the research is satisfying. So what we need to do here, we will be giving an overall purpose for the study. Why I am conducting this type of research, what is the utility of the research, what will be the immediate effect and the ultimate effect of the research on the existing stream of knowledge and all these things. Here also we need to define the research question or questions of the study. What will be the research question or what will be the research questions of this study? That means the brief aims and objectives of the research in brief we need to give here. And at the same time we need to give what? A brief background of the relevant theory and practice for your topic. So we need to give three things in the introduction or the thesis thesis statement. That is, and we need to give the overall purpose of the study, the research questions and the brief background of the relevant theory and practice for your topic. So these three things, I repeat: overall purpose, 1, 2 is questions and a brief background of the relevant theory and the practice for the topic. These three things. Now in the literature review, I have said that, are you noting? Please note it down. In the literature review, we need to do what? In literature review, we should summarize what conclusions have been reached in the research literature and whether different writers agree or not. So the conclusions that have been arrived at by previous researchers on this particular topic or this related topic, that we should give. That what were the conclusions that were drawn by previous researchers who worked on this particular topic or related topic. And 2, to highlight the main issue and controversies around the topic upon which you can establish the novelty of your own research work. So here you need to do what? In the literature review, you need to point out the conclusions that have been drawn by the previous researchers, number 1, and 2, the main issues and controversies that still remain unexplored in this field, which will establish the need, the requirement of your research area or your research work. Okay, so that will come under literature review. Next comes methodology. In methodology, you need to do what? You need to state clearly your research method or methods and to explain the method of data collection, what exactly the methods you are going to take and what will be your methodology and etc. So there will be more than one, there may be one or more than one methods that you can take up for your research work, and one methodology that you will be following to frame your theoretical background or theoretical framework. That will come under the methodology part. In methodology part, that means don't confuse it with that method and methodology. This is known as the research methodology part, where you need to clear what will be the research method or methods that you are going to take up for your research, and you need to explain and justify the method with which you will be collecting your data, and you will be analyzing the data collected, etc., and all this. In the result part, you will be doing what? In this result part, you need to present the findings of your research, and that you need to enumerate, or that you need to express in such a way that there should be a sort of an orderly manner. You need to clearly state in an orderly manner the research findings, and how that research finding is actually based upon the method or methods that you have taken and the methodology you have undertaken. So suppose your research finding has no connection with the method or methods or the methodology that you have stated earlier that you have taken to conduct your research, that won't justify your research outcome or the findings of your research. There should be a logical connection between the methods and methodology that you have taken and the research outcomes, so that there should be a logical connection, logically constructed, the whole thing. Okay. The next part is discussion. So here in the discussion part, you will do what? To comment on the trends and findings of your research. So here you need to comment on the research outcome that you have stated in the earlier part, and show your understanding of what your data suggests. You need to discuss a bit or critically comment on the research findings, and then you need to highlight what? Anything unexpected that came up. So is there anything unexpected, something new that you have been able to find out while drawing the research findings? That you also need to discuss here. Then in the next part is the conclusion part. In the conclusion part, you will be doing what? You need to sum up your findings. In the conclusion part, you need to sum up your findings and highlight the significance of your outcomes of your study. So here you need to do what? You need to sum up and highlight the significant part of your research findings. Here also you need to discuss the limitations of your study, not only summing up and pointing the significance of your study, but also the limitations of your study, and indicate where further research is needed or there is scope for further research. So this particular thing is very important for any kind of conclusion part in research paper or a PhD or MPhil thesis. So and indicate whether there is scope for further research. In the reference part, next is the reference part. You need to do what? You need to list alphabetically all the reference, and you need to follow the MLA or APA or whatever it is for this as a style sheet for preparing the works cited list or an exhaustive select bibliography or whatever. That will come under the reference part. In the appendices, here this is a bit important. What you will be doing in the appendices part? To present relevant details. Please note it down. A short question may come. I don't know. To present relevant details such as letters to participants and organizations, you can add that in your appendix part. Or you can do what? You can present details of questionnaires and surveys and other relevant instruments that you develop for the purpose of study. Suppose you have made a questionnaire or a survey report, or you have written a letter to participants and organizations for presenting your paper or something like that, that actually supports and adds something to your research work. To present relevant documents, suppose for policy document, reports, historical documents, etc. All this will come under the part appendices. Now the next is in a research, the problem is to be, suppose you are writing a research paper, so what you need to do in research, the problem is to be broken down into practical components. That is very important. Suppose the very important part of your research is the how you are problematizing the research issue. So here you need to do what? You need to break down the problem into small practical components such as sub-problem, sub-question, sub-propositions, etc. Now after choosing a topic comes the part of reasoning or argument. So reasoning or argument, which will actually start with the research thesis and which will continue up to the research finding. The argument part, actually argument part is something which is the nucleus of your research. So regarding an argument and how an argument should be in a research topic, an argument should be cool, consistent and logical. Many of you may object to my use of the word cool, but cool means you should not be very much tensed or very much afraid of forming the argument. The argument should be very cool, very easy flowing, very free flowing, cool but consistent and logical. An argument is preceded by a premise, what I have said in an early part, that is after the abstract comes the thesis part, that is the premise part. An argument is preceded by a premise and succeeded by a conclusion. So if I say that what exactly are the parts that form the argument, that is literature review, methodology and result. All this form the result and discussion. All these parts actually form the argument of your thesis. Literature review, methodology, result and discussion, they form the argument part. So an argument is preceded by a premise or premise and succeeded by a conclusion. So premise, argument and conclusion. So since, because, etc. are premise indicators, as you all know. A premise can be, or a premise, whatever you say, can be achieved by reading and collecting. So how will you achieve or get the premise? Can be achieved by reading and collecting relevant items. Suppose study. So how to form the premise? A premise can be achieved by reading and collecting relevant items. One is study, two is select, now three is set the premise. Now first you will be doing what? You will be collecting, you will be studying information. Then after studying you need to do what? Select whatever is important and applicable in your case. And the three is set the premise or to write the premise. Now in the study part, what will be the important components? In the study part, please note it down. In the study part, one is finding information. Number one is finding information. Second is receiving information. Now finding the information, now receiving the information. You must be thinking that sir is telling something so obvious, but these are very important to know how actually the process works. Finding information is number one. Second is receiving information. You find the information, you take something, you select something. Now receiving information means how will you receive the information? By bibliography and index, from the bibliography of other works and index, literature on the subjects. How to receive? You will be finding information. How to receive? You will be receiving from other works, from bibliography and index of other works, literature on the subject, that is, which will help you to form the literary review, that is reviews, interviews, journals, library catalogues. All this will help you to collect the primary and secondary sources. Literature on the subject. So reviewing information, when make a subsection or subdivision, that is in reviewing information. First is finding information, second is reviewing information. In reviewing information, there you will be getting bibliography or index, okay. Second is literature on the subject, that is reviews, interviews, journals, library catalogs, etc. Third is bibliographical database on the web and directory of organizations. Bibliographical database on the web and directory of organizations. So you can go and find, you can search for certain database on web, on online, and directory of organizations. So one is finding information, second is reviewing information. For reviewing information, you need to do this for making the literary review. Third is reading. So in the study, the main three sections are finding information, second is reviewing information. Under reviewing information, these 3 points will come: bibliography or index, literature on the subject, and third is bibliographical database. Then come to the next point of after reviewing information, that is reading. For reading, you will be doing what? Going to the library, reading books online. But one thing is very important: whatever you study, whatever you consult, whatever you read, or whatever you are trying to or planning to take from other books or other articles, you document that. You try to form a sort of comprehensive bibliography while you are or after you have started preparing for writing a thesis. Otherwise, at the end, if you think that I will prepare a bibliography at the end only, there will be high chances that you will miss the names of 1 or 2 books, and that will be a serious crime. Okay. And then comes after in reading. While reading, you have to do what? You need to prepare a bibliography side by side simultaneously, and the second is note taking and writing summary. So whenever you are reading a book, suppose you are reading a particular book and you have found out, or you think that this part will help me to write my thesis, or I can include this part in my thesis, you take a note of that part along with the page and other details, and try to write a summary of the thing that you are planning to include in your research, or you are planning to do, you are planning to add that, or planning to add that or include that in your research argument. You have to do what? You need to do what? You need to prepare a sort of note. That is, note taking is important by documenting all the information of that book, including the page number, as well as writing a summary of the part from which you want to take the required help. Now, this is the next part. While framing an argument, what are the things that you must keep in mind while framing an argument? One, that is, look at the argument. This is also very funny. Looking at the argument means when you are trying to frame the argument, you need to have a clear vision of what I am trying to do. Just look at the argument. Don't think that the argument will come up out of very, very naturally, out of your writing or out of your thinking. You need to think of the argument. What will be my argument? It is not something that comes up very naturally. So you need to look at the argument. Second is identify the argument. You need to identify them. This is the argumentative part. This particular part will be an important section or subsection of my argument. Next is look at the argument, identify the argument. Third is analyze the argument, analyze it. Analyzing what? Analyzing how this argument will help you to arrive at, or to go to, or to achieve the objective or aim that you have stated at the very beginning. Analyze the argument. And fourth is also very important, detect fallacies in the argument. So detecting fallacies in the argument is also an important part. So detecting fallacies, so looking at the argument, identifying the argument, analyzing the argument, and detecting fallacies, that is also an important part in the argument. So make an outline of your argument based on some particular concepts. So the concepts that you have thought of, that were there in your mind while you were planning to carry on your research. So make an outline of your argument based on some concepts and combine those concepts to structure your argument, and that particular concepts will help you to structure your argument. So arguments may be deductive, that is descending, or inductive. In the next class, I request any one of you to make me aware or to remind me that I will take one class on inductive and deductive logic. So Shubham is there. Shubham must be. I think I have taken. Shubham, have I taught you and your group Bacon? In Bacon classes, I have analyzed and I have discussed a bit what is inductive and deductive logic. Okay, in the next class, I will do something on inductive and deductive logic. Okay, and then we will move on to the hypothesis part and the other things. So till then, I will call it a day because this is a very small class, and I don't think that I'm in a hurry or I have to run on an express train, because after we can finish our coursework class after doing this formatting and research paper and all the research methodology part. So when the university will be open and everything will be normal, we will do what we will do that works cited list and MLA and EPI and all these things. Okay, till then call it a day. Oh Shubhan, what? No sir. Oh, I did not teach you that is the Bacon. Okay, that's not a problem. I will teach you in the next class. Our next class will be on inductive and deductive logic. Okay, thank you. Have a nice time. Take care of your health. Don't go out and follow the lockdown rules. Okay.